Hi, this is John Canemaker, and it is my pleasure to comment on Hotsy, Footsy. This 1952 short was the 11th Mr. Magoo cartoon in a long series from the innovative and highly influential cartoon studio UPA. United Productions of America was the little studio that could, and did, challenge Disney's supremacy in the shorts field. UPA's experimentation with modernist designs, stylized animation, and satirical content changed the animated cartoon industry forever. Hotsy Footsy is the fourth and final Magoo that John Hubley, the series' original director and the character's designer, worked on. His other directorial efforts included the first Mr. Magoo short in 1949 titled The Ragtime Bear. He also directed Magoo and Spellbound Hound in 1950 and Fuddy Duddy Buddy in 1951. The Magoo tropes were all in place in this film.
Wait a minute, son.
Here he is a chivalrous, slightly lecherous, self-involved old coot with limited vision, who mistakenly fancies himself and the situations he finds himself in as something more than they really are. In this case, he imagines that he is a romantic, sexy rake whose delusion and inability to really see the world and himself as they are turns a violent encounter with a wrestler into a dance. Magoo's world in the 1950s was a man's world, reflecting, in a way, the male-dominated animation industry of the period. Women in Magoo's films are either non-existent or treated badly, as is the Dowager Frances coming up in Hotsy Footsy. She is a combination of New Yorker magazine cartoonist Helen Hokinson's ditzy, plump, middle-aged society cartoon matrons and Margaret Dumont, the Marx Brothers put upon comic foil. Hotsy Footsy was a troubled production. It went $4,500 over budget. First of all, there were two directors and two assistant directors on the film. Hubley started the cartoon, but did not complete it. John Hubley was a restlessly creative man who quickly lost interest in the continuing sameness of the Magoo character. He was replaced by Bill Hertz, who was UPA's top director of commissioned films for industry and the government. Hotsy Footsy was Hearst's first directing job for an entertainment short. The Magoo series was eventually taken over by director Pete Burness.
On the floor. Waiting for me on the dance floor. See you later, Charlie.
Special notice should be taken of the backgrounds designed by Paul Julian. His distinctive painterly touch is seen in the shadow work, in dim lighting of alleyways and dank locker rooms. The paintings are evocative of surrealist imagery and are beautifully rendered. Julian's finest design work on backgrounds and layouts is seen in UPA's 1953 version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. In the upcoming wrestling sequences, backgrounds are basically perfunctorily flat colors that spotlight the animation.
They must be undergraduates.
Grinding out the series year after year, the initial stubbornness and mean-spiritedness of the Magoo character became increasingly bland, his personality warmer, and the emphasis became his poor eyesight rather than, as Hubley complained, the strength of the original character, which was the fact that he was so damn bullheaded, unquote. The change can be seen in this film. But by the time Hotsy Footsy was released in October 1952, John Hubley was in fact gone from the studio, having been fired 5 months earlier on May 31st.
Get off the floor, you. Back to the stag line.
He was a victim of HUAC, the dreaded House Un-American Activities Committee that sought to destroy the careers of many in the 1950s who were in any way connected with politically progressive and leftist associations. Hubley refused to cooperate with the committee and was forced to leave UPA. The studio lost a key creative talent, with the result that, as many staff members believed, the quality of the studio product declined precipitously. Hotsy Footsy's storyline focuses on Magoo's poor eyesight, pardon the pun. Believe it or not, the film's slight, trite story was worked on by 6 men, including Hubley, who threw out the first story. James Raymond got sole credit or blame, depending on your opinion of this film. Hotsy Footsy has lively, assured animation of Magoo by Pat Matthews and Phil Monroe. Especially fun are Magoo's Charleston steps. Magoo squints through tightly closed eyes, opening them rarely, except when he offers a one-word assessment of an unconscious wrestler, loaded. The wrestling scenes are well-timed and animated with directness and economy. The wrestler with the long hair was based on the popular 1950s flamboyant, platinum-bond professional wrestler known as Gorgeous George.
I'm sorry, no cutting in.
Hotsy Footsy's production was so chaotic that a sizable chunk of Pat Matthews' finished animation, 40 feet worth, was thrown out in expensive waste. The film's lively musical score was provided by Shorty Rogers, one of the West Coast's modern jazz creators and a popular trumpeter. Rogers, whose real name was Milton Rajansky, also composed music for the Warner Brothers animated short Three Little Bops. 4 years after Hotsy Footsy, in 1956, UPA was releasing very few non-Magoo shorts, and the popular, critically acclaimed character and his films, 2 of which won Academy Awards, had virtually taken over the studio.
Has ruined my evening.
By that time, Magoo was a very mild, toned-down old fellow, which left his main director, Pete Burness, to wonder if Magoo's, quotes, basic character would have been stronger if he had continued basically crotchety and even somewhat nasty at times, unquote. What do you think, gentle viewer?